Hi. Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at the gradebook in onQ. The first thing I wanted to cover was just what tools can use the gradebook. So obviously you can mark directly in the gradebook itself, or you can mark using assignments, discussions, or the quiz tool. So we'll be having a look at that as we proceed. So what I'm going to cover today is the grade wizard, adding a grade item, the types of grades you can create, a grade category, and within that, how we can drop a grade within a category, adding a grade item to a discussion forum, an assignment folder, or a quiz, grading in the grade tool and releasing grades, how you can look at your grade statistics, and final grades. So it's a lot to get through today. So first of all, I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to log in to my course. So let me just switch over. I think it's this one. Yeah. And you should be able to see now I'm in onQ, and I'm going to go into a course. So the first thing you always want to do with your gradebook is run through the grade wizard first of all. So the grade wizard is where you set up the type of gradebook you want to use. So to access the gradebook, we're going to go to assessments and we're going to go to grades. And you can see there's 4 tabs across here. We want to go to the setup wizard. And there are 7 steps to the setup wizard, and we're just going to go through and have a look at the different steps. So the first step is we choose our grading system. So most people at Queen's use a weighted grade book. So the final grade is 100%. All those grade items add up to that total, okay? There is a points grade book and a formula grade book you can use as well. And then step 2, final grade released. So the difference between releasing a calculated final grade or an adjusted final grade is the adjusted final grade allows you to modify the grade before releasing it. So the way onQ works is when you send your grades to PeopleSoft, it sends the exact grade that is in that final grade column. Now, if there are 2 decimal places after the point on that grade, it just cuts them off. It doesn't round them up for you. So you need to do all your rounding up in onQ before you send your grades to PeopleSoft. Otherwise, if a student's right on that cusp, say has an 89.9 or something like that, and that gets sent to PeopleSoft, it's going to cut off that 9. It's not going to round it up to a 90, and therefore they may not get moved up that grade level. So you always adjust your final grades in onQ before you send them to PeopleSoft. So generally, as a default, I would suggest selecting the adjusted. If you decide not to adjust, that's not a problem either. We then click continue and grade calculations. So this is what to do with ungraded items. So normally I recommend that you treat ungraded items as 0. That means if you don't put a number in that column, it's going to treat it exactly like a 0. If you drop ungraded items, you need to put zeros in for those students that don't submit. Otherwise, that grade is going to drop away from their final grade. And you always want to keep automatically keep final grades up to date. Step 4 is the grading scheme you want to use. You can use percentage, you can use arts and science letter grades. I'm just going to leave it as percentage. That's up to you. If you want students to see a letter, then I recommend selecting the arts and science letter grade. The managing view is the number of decimal places to display. I always recommend that you leave it at 2. And then what would you like the students to see? So do you want the students to see the points grade, the number out of? So, you know, if it's an assignment out of 20, do you want them to see 15 out of 20? Do you want them to see the weighted grade? So if that assignment that's worth 20 points is worth 20% of the grade book, do you want them to see that weighted grade? And do you want them to see the grade scheme symbol? So if you selected a letter grade as your grading scheme, then you want that one checked so that they would then see the letter. Again, you want the students to see what you're seeing. So if there's a problem, you'll be able to identify it. So again, leave their view at 2 decimal places. This is just the default characters displayed for text items. And don't check final grade calculation, because if you check that, they'll be able to see all the workings of how that final grade is calculated before maybe you've decided to release the grade. So we always leave that one off. And then step 7 is just a review, and you click finish. So now we have set our defaults for the gradebook, and I'm going to switch over to the Manage Grades tabs, because this is where you can create new grade items. And you can see I've got a couple of grade items here already. I've got one called Introductions, and you can see that it's associated with the discussion forum. So that tells me it's attached to a discussion. It's worth, it's marked out of 3 points, but the weight in the final gradebook is worth 1. Again, I have another grade here, group presentation. It's associated with an assignment submission folder. And if I roll on that question mark, it's going to tell me what that folder's called. And it's actually called group presentation in the assignments. And you can see I'm going to mark this out of 100, but the weight in the final gradebook is worth 20. So the nice thing about onQ is it's going to do all those calculations for you. So if you find it easier to mark an assignment out of 100, you can mark it out of 100, but you can still have the weight.
Excuse me, Selina. There's Juliana is not seeing the page you're discussing.
Really? Okay. Everyone else?
I'm seeing it now. I'm seeing it now. There was a delay. We were on your previous page while you were discussing what I'm now seeing.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. If anyone wants to ask any questions as we're going through, please feel free to add them into the chat, and Andrea will read them out to me as we go along. So, you know, if you want to ask questions about a specific thing at any time, that's fine. So the nice thing about onQ, it's also telling me up here in this note that the final calculated grade sums to 21% and not 100. So I know that I need to make sure that my gradebook adds up to 100, and it's going to tell me if it's not. You know, there's that warning there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new grade item. So I'm going to click on grade, on new, sorry, and I'm going to click item. So that's a new grade item. And I'm going to be given a choice of grade item that I can create. So you can see here there's a numeric grade. So there's an example, 8 out of 10. Select box, that will allow me to choose a letter grade. I can basically create my own grading scheme using this option. A simple pass-fail grade. A formula grade, which I recommend, if you can, stay away from that. It's very complicated to create your own formula grade. A calculated grade, and I'm going to show you, I'll give you an example of one of those, and just a text only grade. Obviously, there's no numeric value attached to that.
There's just a question in the chat.
Okay.
Can I make my assignment points the same as total as the weighted percentage?
Absolutely, you can. So if you want your assignment to be 15 points and the weight 15, you can do that. And a lot of people do. So it really depends how you like to mark. Juliana, oh no, is that your old message there? Yes, it is. Okay. So let's just create a simple numeric grade first of all. So we're going to give it a name first. I'm just going to call it assignment 2 for now. You can add a short name if you want. You don't need to. It will just use the name of the first name if you don't create one. A category, we're going to just leave that for a moment. I'm going to come to that. Most of the time you don't need a description for the grade item unless you really want to. So let's do a grade item just like we talked about, where it's out of 15 points and the weight is 15. So can exceed allows you to create a grade item where where you can add more points than is actually specified. So for example, when I was grading it, I could give them a bonus point, which would give them 16 out of 15 in this case. If you don't check can exceed, it would only include the 15 points. So it's kind of, if you want to do a bonus grade, you might use can exceed. And if you do the can exceed, you can also click the bonus. And there's quite good descriptions here. So select this option if you want to allow users' grades to exceed the maximum points for a specified item. So that would be the 16 out of 15, and the bonus items are not included in the maximum points for a category or final grade. They are added on top of the calculated grade. You can also select different grade schemes for different items. So for example, if this assignment you decided, I want to use a letter grade, I can switch just this assignment over to showing the students the letter grade. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it at my default that I selected, which is percentages. And I'm going to click Save and Close. So now you can see there's my third grade item, and you can see that it's numeric and it has no association because I haven't associated it with another tool in onQ. It's literally just a grade item in the gradebook. And so for this item, if I wanted to grade it, I would have to come to the gradebook to submit the grades. So it depends if you want to mark, you know, if it's an assignment, if you want to mark it within the assignment tool, then you would connect it to an assignment. If it's just something that you want to grade directly in the gradebook, you would come to the gradebook and mark it. So that's a numeric grade. I'm just going to show you the select box as well. And I just have to make sure that, okay. So I'm going to call this assignment 3. Oh. And again, let's say this one's out of 20 and we want the weight as 20. And we want to use the arts and science letter grade as the grading scheme for this select box. So again, you can see I've now got assignment 3 and it's a select box grade, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if I go into mark assignment 2, I would come to manage grades in the gradebook and I would click on the arrow and click on enter grades. And it's going to load, and now I can see my students and I can go in and grade. Now I can also add feedback here if I want to. And there's also this private comments box. So if, for example, you've got TAs, a group of TAs grading, and you want to, the TAs maybe would want to put an instructor, a comment in for the instructor, they can put it into this box. So if I just save that one grade, if you remember in my grade wizard, I said I want the students to see the points grade, which is here, 13 out of 15, the weighted grade, and the grade scheme I selected was the percentage. Okay, now the minute I hit save, it released that grade to students. So the other thing that you always want to do is to make sure that you have the grades hidden until you're ready to release them all to students. So I'll show you how to do that. So now let's just have a look at the select box grade. So here it is, assignment 3, same thing. I'm going to hit that black arrow. I'm going to go in and hit enter grades and scroll down. And here's the difference. So the select box has now loaded up the arts and science letter grades, and I can literally select the grade I want to give the student. Again, I can add feedback. That's not great feedback, but if I click save again, you can see the students are getting the letter grade, the weighted grade, and the grade scheme. A couple more things, actually, I should show you just while we're here. If I need to exempt a student from an assignment, so when we exempt them, that drops away that assignment from their final grade. I can literally select the student with the checkbox and hit exempt. Okay, so that now that student has been exempted from the assignment, and I'll show you what that looks like as a final grade. So how do we hide grades? Well, if they're grades just in the gradebook, we need to go in, and you can do this when you're creating the grades. just go in and edit the grade if you haven't done it when you created it, and scroll down. Sorry, I actually want to do it. It's changed now. Sorry, you can do it right from the actual grade, right from the arrow. You can hide the grade item just by clicking hide from users. So now that grade item is hidden. So that means that when I save those grades, it's not going to appear in the student's gradebook. It's not going to send them an automatic notification telling them that a grade has been released. With this grade item, if I want to hide it, I have to hide it in two places because it's attached to an assignment. And if I don't hide it in the assignment tool as well as the gradebook, it will be visible to them through the assignments. So in this case, I need to hide it in the gradebook by doing the hide from user, but I also need to hide it in the actual tool. And the way I do that is by going in and editing that grade and going down to the student view and say, override the display options for this item and uncheck them all. So it basically says, don't show them any of these things. Unfortunately, it's annoying that you have to do it in both places. I feel like if you hide a grade item, it should be hidden everywhere. But unfortunately, onQ doesn't work like that. So we have to make sure we hide it in both places. And obviously, when we're ready to release the grade, we just go in and we can make visible to user. So you can see now I have a final calculated grade summing to 56% because it's adding up that weight column for me. And if I want to go to enter grades, so I want to have a look at the whole grade book, or I want to have a look at an individual student's complete grades, I can do that by going to the enter grades. And I usually like to switch it to spreadsheet view. So you can see right now it's showing a grade out of 56 because that's all I've got in my grade book right now. Once I have items up to 100, it will show the score out of 100 as I release each item. So let's just have a look down. I wanted to find the student that I gave an exemption to. Okay. So this student is the student that has the exemption. I'm hoping you can see that. So let's go back. So what I want to do next is I've decided I want to do a grade category. So the reason I'm going to use a grade category is because I've decided that out of the 2 assignments, the students only need to complete one of them. And so what I want is the other assignment that they don't do to drop away. So I'm giving them a choice of 2 assignments. So you can either do assignment 2 or assignment 3, and the one that's going to have the grade in is going to be the one that is going to count and take up the weight of that grade category. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new category. And I'm going to call it assignment choice. Okay. And I'm going to say that the weight of that is going to be actually, let's say 20. And now I get to the distribution. So how do I want to assign the weight to the category? Well, in this case, I've got 2 assignments. And so I want to distribute the weight evenly across the 2 assignments. So basically, that would mean each assignment is worth 10% of that 20%. But then I'm going to say, but drop the lowest one. Okay, so one of those assignments is going to have no grade because they're only selecting one assignment to do. So I'm going to drop the lowest one. So the one that's ungraded is just going to disappear, and then the assignment that's left is going to take that whole 20%. So I'm going to save and close that. And now I'm going to move these 2 grade items into that grade category. And how can I tell it's a category? Well, it has no grade type, it has no association, it has no points, it only has weight. So now I'm going to select my 2 assignments, and I'm going to do a bulk edit. And I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to scroll to the right where it says category, and I'm going to say put it into the category assignment choice. And can you see it's changed the weight now to 50 and 50%? It's splitting it between the 2. So now, if I go and look at that category, so I'm going to do enter grades on the category. So let's have a look at this student here. So this student got the 13 out of 15, which is the 86.67%. They got a B. But this is saying, even though they did assignment 3, it's dropping it away because it's only going to take the one highest grade. And you can see that's their subtotal for the category. If I give another student a grade, obviously this student did both assignments. But if I gave another student a grade, so let's give this student 10 on this assignment and just save it. So here we go. The student got 66.67%. Didn't do assignment 3, obviously, chose to do assignment 2. The drop sign is there, and the final for that category is 13.33. So this is a really useful tool for like discussion forums. A lot of instructors do a weekly discussion post, but maybe allow students to drop 2, so they kind of give them a pass on 2. So in that case, you could set up 12 discussion post grade items in a category and drop the lowest 2. So there's lots of uses for this. And again, if we go back to the enter grades, you can see we've now got a total out of 41 because I added those 2 grade items to that category worth 20%. So I kind of reduced the final total of the gradebook. Now, what if you want to give your students a milestone grade? So one of the things that happened when we went to remote teaching was that some instructors gave students the choice to accept their grade at that point, or to maybe do the final assignment. And so they wanted students to be able to see their grade as it was at that moment. And you can do that using what's called a calculated grade. So a calculated grade doesn't affect the final grade. It's just a way of adding up a few grade items and showing that as a total. So let's just call this milestone grade. And then you can select what's included in that milestone grade. So I want to add maybe these items. You can see I've got milestone grade calculation there, and I can save and close. And there you can see it doesn't change anything in the gradebook. It's just going to allow the students to see what they got so far on the grade items you selected. So if I enter grades on these, you can see that they would get a percentage, even though they've only received, the students only received a couple of grades. It's going to give them what that would be as a percentage if that was like the final right now. So let's just go now to the other tools and just look at what that looks like adding those grade items. So right now I'm in the assignment tool. So that's the assignment submission folder tool where they can submit their work. And I'm going to create a new assignment for my assignment 2 grade item. So grade items can either be created at the time you're creating a new folder or a new discussion, or they can be added later. So some people like to create their whole grade book and then add their grade items to the activities afterwards. So it's up to you how you prefer to do it. So I'm just going to create a new assignment called assignment 2. It's an individual assignment. They're going to submit a file. Here's the evaluation and the feedback. So I think assignment 2, I said it was out of 15. So the score must match the points value that you put in the grade item. And if I look now I can select the grade item because I've already created it. If I hadn't already created it, I could do a new grade item. But I'm going to select assignment 2 and save and close. So now I've attached that grade item to the assignment 2 submission folder. And I know that because I can see this icon, and this is a grade icon, basically says there's a grade item attached, and it will tell me which grade item is attached to it. And you can see it's called assignment 2. And it really helps if your grade item naming is the same as the tool, the assignment or the discussion forum it's attached to. So it's really clear to students, you know, what that grade is for. If we go back to the gradebook now, you can see now that assignment 2 has been attached to an assignment folder, and again the association information is there. Same with discussions. So if I created a new discussion, I'm going to just create a new topic and add it to an existing forum. And again, if I go to the assessment tab, I have the option of creating a new grade item or attaching as an existing one. So in this case, I'm going to add a new grade item, call it the same thing, week 2 discussion. And and let's give it points out of 3, but its weight is worth 1 in the final gradebook, and click save. And again, that score must match the points value, and I can save and close. Again, if I go back to the gradebook, here's my new week 2 discussion. And maybe I want to put all my discussions together, so I might want to move this up. I can do that by doing what's called reorder from the More Actions menu. And I can say, okay, I want it to come after this first discussion forum. I'm going to make it number 2 in my list. So, you know, you can keep your gradebook organized. And, you know, you can, like I say, you can create categories so that you can do certain things with those grade items, like drop grade items, etc. Again, if I go to the quiz tool and I create a new quiz, I can add a grade item to it. So there's 10 questions in my quiz and they're all worth 1 point each. I can have the weight in the final gradebook as 10. I'll click save. These 2 buttons in the quiz, I'm just going to go over briefly, but they basically decide when those grades would be sent to the gradebook, and whether the students would, and whether they would be graded immediately. So for any quiz that has questions that can be automatically graded by the system, so onQ can mark them because they're multiple choice, or they're true or false questions, or they're short answer questions. Any of the ones that can be auto graded, you can check that allow attempt to be set as graded immediately and allow automatic export to the grade book. But if you've got questions in there that you need to go in and mark, things like long answer questions, you don't want to check these boxes immediately.
You've got 2 minutes, Selina. Sorry.
Yeah. So I'm just going to click save and close. I'm going to go to the quizzes. Oh, sorry, go to the grades. And you can see I've created that quiz item. Now, if I want to look at any of the statistics for any of the grade items, I can click on View Statistics to have a look at what the grade distribution is, the minimum grade, the maximum grade, and the average grade. And I can see the number of students that achieved that grade. So here I've got 1 student achieved a B. So again, you can look at the class statistics, and there's user statistics as well, individual user. So, wow, this always goes so fast. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to put your mic on if you want to ask a question.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question. I'm not sure, and I don't think it's related to setting up a gradebook, but I am wondering if, for instance, there is a homework that a student, individual students share their assignment to the class. Is there any way that the class contribute in marking them?
Okay, what you're talking about is peer review.
Yes.
And yes. So we have a new tool that's going to be available really soon. It's called Feedback Fruits, and it does peer review. It does peer review of assignments, and it also does peer review of group work, and it's fully integrated with onQ. So if you want to give me your name, I will add you to my list as a person to contact once it's available. It's going to be available like hopefully in the next week or so.
Okay, where do I give my name? Here, or I will write to you?
No, I'm going to add it to, I've got a list I've already set up. If you want to if you just type your name in the chat and then I can copy and paste it.
All right,
that would be fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And so you're interested in peer review of work? Yes?
Yes, I'm asking them as an assignment to create a poster. And posters usually the peer will mark it, and then I will make a judgment and everything. Okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that and is that Faru?
Yes.
Okay, I've got your name. I'm adding you now to my list.
Okay, and I am typing my name.
I've also put a evaluation form. If everybody could take a minute and fill that out, it would really help us with our future sessions. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll turn off the recording now.